Hi, my name is John Tozeland, and I'd like to thank you for joining me today to take time to listen to this CD. What I'd like to share with you is some of what I believe to be the most important information that's available on this planet today, and that is the information about how to communicate effectively. How can you use your skills to improve your communication, to have the kind of world, to have the kind of life that you'd like? Would you like to understand others better? Would you like to be able to motivate yourself and others to perform at your optimum capacity? Would you like to create an unlimited life, creating the kind of world, the kind of life that you would like? Would you like to have a powerful, positive impact on the world? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then the personal and professional life mastery trainings are for you. As an employer or an employee, learn how to motivate others to perform at their optimum. Discover the keys to choosing the right person for the right job. As a therapist, you will learn how to assist others to heal from past traumas, to change those limiting beliefs, to restructure past habits. In your personal life, you will learn how to create deep, long-lasting relationships. You will learn how to communicate more effectively. You will learn how to minimize disagreements. When you complete the personal and professional life mastery trainings, you will be certified as a master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming. You will be certified as an advanced hypnotherapist. And you will be able to have achieved your own personal healing, developing and creating the kind of world that you want in your life. Over 30 years ago, I graduated from the School of Social Work at the University of Manitoba. And at that time, I thought I knew how to create change, how to help people to heal from the past. My understanding was that it was our willpower or our conscious mind that really created change. After a few years of working as a social worker, I discovered that in fact it wasn't our willpower that created change. That no matter how much I wanted things to be different, they didn't always become different, that there seemed to be something inside of me that was driving me, that was moving me places. And it wasn't just with me, it was with the clients that I worked with. Time and time again, in counseling sessions, we would come to a point where the client was ready to make a difference in their life, to make a change, and yet they weren't able to make the change when they left the office. And I began to wonder what it was that actually created change. As I started reading and researching, I discovered some information about a hypnotist by the name of Milton Erickson. Milton Erickson was a psychiatrist, and he used hypnotherapy to assist people to create deep, long-lasting changes. Now, the interesting thing was that up until Milton Erickson's time, most people that used hypnosis used it on the stage. And they used it in order to assist people to entertain themselves, to move into places of fantasy. And yet, Milton Erickson used this information to assist people to change. And how was it that he did that? Well, what we discovered in the studies of hypnotherapy and neuro-linguistic programming is that all behavior, all learning, and all change are unconscious. That it's not possible to create a change unless that inner part of us makes the change. That sure, we can use our willpower. We can hold on to making things different. But if we don't actually change our inner self, if we don't change our inner thoughts, then our behavior remains and it comes back. How many times have you made a decision to do something different, to change a habit in your life, and then woken up the next day or the next week or the next month to find yourself doing that same behavior again? Well, it was this quest to understand how to change that I began to look in different areas, to discover different things. Hypnotherapy was the first place I went, and then I discovered a science called Neuro-linguistic programming. In short, this is called NLP. And about 30 years ago, the two founders of Neuro-linguistic programming, Richard Bandler and John Grinder, started studying communication. What they wanted to learn is, how is it that effective communicators can really communicate well? And in their study, they studied 3 very powerful communicators. One was Milton Erickson. The other was Virginia Satir, who was a social worker who used her practice to help families and children to heal in their relationships, to become healthier in their communication. And he studied Fritz Perls, who was another psychiatrist who had studied under Carl Jung to determine how to help people to change through their unconscious mind, through the images, through the thoughts that went on inside. So as Richard Bandler and John Grinder studied these 3 people, what they discovered were the keys to communication. And neuro-linguistic programming is that study. It is learning those keys. Richard Bandler and John Grinder, in studying those 3 great therapists, developed an understanding of communication that is with us today. This communication, this understanding, is the art and science of neuro-linguistic programming. And what that is it's the science of using your language, that's the linguistic part, to reprogram the neurology, or the nervous system. This makes it the most powerful information that's available today in understanding not only how to change habits, but how to create the kind of behavior that you want to create in the world. One of the things that have come out of neuro-linguistic programming is the understanding of communication. The NLP model of communication shows us how communication enters into our experience. And in the diagram, you'll notice that communication is entering in through the eyes. And yet, we receive communication from every sense of our body, through our sound, through our touch, through hearing, through smell, through taste. As the communication enters into us, it goes through our filters, or our unconscious mind. Another way to put that is that our unconscious mind distorts, deletes, and generalizes the information of the world around us. So for example, perhaps you just got a new shirt or a new pair of shoes, and someone comes up to you and says, "My, those are really nice shoes. I really like them." Now perhaps you might distort that in your own mind, and you might think, "Oh, are they really liking what I'm wearing? Do they really like those shoes? Or maybe they're just saying that." Our unconscious mind distorts, deletes, and generalizes information based on our past experiences, based on our beliefs and values, and based on our deep structure. In NLP terms, this is called our meta model and our meta programs. Once the information goes through our unconscious mind, we have a thought. Now in NLP terms, we call this thought an internal representation. But really it's just a thought. And we think in 3 basic ways. We think through pictures. We see things inside. We see colors, we see scenery, we see people. We think in words and sounds. We sometimes carry on a conversation inside, talking to ourselves. And we think in feelings or sensations inside of our body. It is through these 3 ways, our visual, auditory, and kinesthetic ways of thinking, that we process the information inside. So as the information comes in, as we hear or see what's happening around us, that information goes through our filters, and we have a certain thought. At the same time that we have that thought, we have some kind of emotional state. We might be happy or sad, we might be feeling relaxed or bored. Something is happening inside of us as we have certain sensations inside of our body. And at the same time that we have that emotional state, we also have a certain physiology. We hold our body in a certain way. We might be holding tension in our shoulders, or our jaw might be clenched or tight, or we may feel very relaxed and our body's loose and limp. Now these 3 ways of responding to the world around us, our thoughts, our emotional state, and our physiology, all affect our behavior. They affect the way that we act in the world. And those three things all are interconnected. So by changing one, we can change the other two. So for example, if you are saying words to yourself, if you are saying something like, oh, well, I'm not very good at that. I can't do that kind of thing. You may change those words. You can change the words that you say, and you might start saying, oh, I'm really good at that. I enjoy doing that kind of work. Now, by changing those words, the thoughts that you have inside can change the way you feel and change the way your body feels. And yet, we know that just by changing our words, just by changing our thoughts, doesn't create long-term change. In fact, changing our thoughts only creates short-term change as long as we're paying attention to those thoughts. Similarly, we may decide to change our emotional state. If we're feeling depressed or tired or sad, we may want to go out to a movie and enjoy a comedy. Or we might want to go and visit friends and enjoy the pleasure of being with those people that we like, that we enjoy to be with. Those things, changing our state, going to a place where we feel different, begins to change our thoughts and change our physiology. In addition, we might decide that we want to change our physiology. We might want to go jogging. We might do some stretching. We might start breathing deeper. Those things can start to change our thoughts and our emotional response, our state. Now, all of these three things create change, but they create short-term change. And most theory around therapy and communication responds to changing those three aspects. The key to NLP is that when we create change, when we communicate with the individual, we communicate through their filters. We communicate through their internal set of filters that distort, delete, and generalize information. So what we actually do in a therapeutic sense is we change the filters. We change the past experience. Now let me give you an example. A few years ago, when I first learned timeline therapy, and timeline therapy, by the way, is what I believe to be the most powerful change agent in the world. When I first learned timeline therapy, I had great experiences. I thought, this is the most powerful thing I've learned. It's made creative, deep changes for myself. And in the classroom, when I worked with other students, it created deep changes for them too. And yet, when I returned back home to Canada, I started to wonder, does this really work? Will timeline therapy work with the average person on the street? Now, I was given an opportunity very quickly to discover that, in fact, timeline therapy works very effectively. Shortly after I returned, a woman phoned me up. She had a 9-year-old son, and her son was phobic of clouds. Anytime there was any clouds in the sky, he was afraid. And when I asked him what happened, what he thought when he saw those clouds, he said that he could see a picture of himself inside, glowing blue, and that he was blue because he had just been struck by lightning. Now, if I thought that every time I saw clouds, I'd be afraid too. Now, the interesting thing about timeline therapy is that it's a process that takes you back to where the emotions were first locked away. You see, most of the time in life, we experience emotions. They process through our body and they're gone. But for some times, in some circumstances, we decide that it's not okay to experience those emotions. And we lock them away. We push them down inside. Timeline therapy is a process of going back to that first time that the emotions were locked away. Now, with this particular boy, we were working with the emotion of fear. And what he noticed, or what his unconscious mind told us, was that the fear began when he was about 2 years old. And it began when he was locked in the bathroom by his younger brother. Now, we went back in timeline therapy to release that emotion. And you'll discover the process of timeline therapy when you take these trainings. We went back and released the emotion of fear. And yet, this was not where the fear of clouds began. The fear of clouds began when he was about 7 years old. And he was at the cottage with his grandfather, and there was this huge thunder and lightning storm. And his grandfather was out settling things outside, tying some things down, keeping them safe. And this young boy was alone in the house. And what happened was, while he was in the house alone, lightning struck a tree, and the tree crashed down in the house, and he was incredibly afraid. Now, over time, he generalized this fear, remembering that the unconscious mind distorts, deletes, and generalizes. Eventually, over the next 2 years, the fear became generalized to the point where anytime he saw any clouds, he was afraid. Now, I happened to be working with him on a beautiful summer day. It was a lovely day, sunny, outside, with beautiful fluffy clouds. And when he got into my office, I asked him if he would like to go outside to do the work because it was such a nice day. And he looked at me and he said, "Well, there's no way I'm not going outside." I said, "Well, why not?" He says, "Because there's clouds out there. It's not safe." And you know, he told me that he was so afraid of clouds that his mother used to say, "If you don't clean up your room, you're going to have to go outside and play." Now, I used to pray that my mother would say that to me. Clouds were a very serious thing for him. Inside of 45 minutes, using timeline therapy, he released the fear of clouds. And when he returned back into his present state, into the waking state, I asked him if he could remember the last time he was afraid of clouds. And he thought, and he thought, and he thought, and finally he opened up his eyes and he said, "Well, I was never afraid of clouds." Now, this totally blew me away because just a few minutes ago he had told me he was afraid of clouds, and he had demonstrated it to me. And when I questioned him more, what he said was he could remember the fear, but when he remembered those times, the fear was gone. I then asked him to look outside and asked him what he thought, and he said, "Could I go outside and play?" Automatically, he was wanting to go outside. The clouds had lost their focus. The clouds had lost the pain. This is the power of NLP. This is the power of change, which is changing the filters. He didn't have to breathe in a certain way or think certain thoughts in order to overcome his fear. All he had to do was to go back and release the fear from the past. The personal and professional life mastery trainings have 3 components. The first component is called personal life mastery. And this component is made up of 2 sections: mastering the unconscious mind and understanding the unconscious mind. Combined, these sections are 15 days of training. Mastering the unconscious mind focuses on understanding how to create trance, how to speak to the unconscious mind, and how to make deep level change. This training is a training in Ericksonian hypnosis. And at the end of the training, you become certified as a hypnotherapist. It's also the introductory training in timeline therapy. And at the end of the training, you will become certified as a timeline therapy practitioner. The hypnotherapy training is supported through the Professional Board of Hypnotherapy. And the timeline therapy training is certified through the Timeline Therapy Association. The understanding the unconscious mind component is the communication and the NLP component. In understanding the unconscious mind, you will learn how to change beliefs. You will discover how to talk to the filters of the unconscious mind. You will discover the meta models and the meta programs so that you can communicate effectively. All communication is about creating the thoughts inside of the person that you're communicating with. These thoughts then affect their state and their physiology. Understanding the unconscious mind combined with mastering the unconscious mind is the practitioner certification in neuro-linguistic programming. The second level of training is the professional life mastery training. In professional life mastery, you'll learn how to change your values, improving the energy flow of your body and in the body of those people that you're working with, how to assist the body to heal more effectively, learning such things as pain control, understanding the beliefs and values of the individual, creating deep level change. The professional life mastery training is certification as a master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming, advanced timeline therapy practitioner, and certification as an advanced hypnotherapist. The third level of training is a therapeutic mastery, and this training is designed to deepen your skills as a therapist. Through the processes of live videotapes that I've done, videotapes that other students have done, we're able to use stop action to understand and process what's going on. In addition, you'll learn how to design and present powerful training programs. If you choose to be a magnificent therapist, if you choose to assist others to create powerful, deep changes, then this training is for you. In the previous two trainings, in personal and professional life mastery, you will learn a wide range of information about how people communicate and how to communicate more effectively. In therapeutic mastery, you take the knowledge, the information, and you move it into an art form so that you become a master at communication. These three trainings combined are trainings that will deepen your ability to communicate and make a profound impact on your life and the life of those around you. These trainings are designed to assist you along your personal and professional development levels, starting from success and moving through to excellence. The beginning of this journey is the commitment to change. This is your commitment for personal growth. And if you weren't committed, you wouldn't already be watching this CD. The next step is to see the present for what it is, to recognize where you are. Is your life happening in the way that you want it? The third step is to integrate and release the negative emotions so that you no longer become ruled by fear or worry or sadness or hurt. Releasing those limiting beliefs, those things that have held you back from being all that you can be. Connecting with your purpose. What is it that you are meant to do in this life? What gives you joy in your life? And then using this purpose to find that joy and success, that happiness. Learning to understand the meaning of your communication. Paying attention to the world around you and noticing, how do people respond to your communication? Are you getting the results that you desire? Learning how to skillfully adjust that communication so that if you're not getting the results, do something different. And you will have a wide repertoire of new things that you can do. Learn how to create strong bonds with others. Being comfortable, communicating effectively. Learn how to be consistent with your own behavior, following through on what you begin, following through on what you desire. Learning how to work with and inspire groups, to train, to stimulate, to encourage positive growth and learning around you. Becoming complete as a person, feeling whole and empowered. And finally, living from your core, from your very center, so that you can easily and fully express yourself in the world. Whether you're interested in these trainings to learn in-depth communication skills, to become a therapist, or to deepen your ability to establish positive relationships, the personal and professional life mastery and the therapeutic mastery trainings will teach you a wide range of skills. However deeply you want to go in learning, we have a program for you. I'd like to thank you for joining me today and sharing part of your day with me. As I said earlier, this information, I believe, is amongst the most important information on the planet today. And that is information about how to communicate effectively. And we communicate all the time. And isn't it time to learn to communicate the most effectively that you can? Again, thank you for sharing part of your day with me. Have a great life.